New York Post columnist Miranda Devine and former U.S. Treasury official Michael Faulkender join us. It's good to see you both again. Miranda, first to you. The news is coming in. ABC Ipsos new poll, no bump higher, no bump for Biden after the State of the Union address, and Trump beats Biden on key voter issues, the economy, inflation, border, and crime. In these 7 swing states, Miranda, that will decide the election. Go ahead, Miranda.
Look, this is not a surprise that Joe Biden's budget and his State of the Union address brought him no joy in the poll stakes. There were so low expectations for him going in that if he didn't fall off the stage, if he managed to stay upright, he was going to get the thumbs up. And the pundits just loved it, no matter what he said, because they're desperate and his campaign is flailing so badly.
So what Miranda just said, you know, Michael, when you see Trump campaigning, he's out there. He's like out there in the wild. But Biden is doing these heavily scripted, teleprompted events inside. It almost looks like Biden is still campaigning like it's still in pandemic lockdowns. You know, the big news is what Miranda was just also talking about. Those 7 swing states, Michael, have been facing more economic misery and pain than the rest of the U.S. This is a Bloomberg analysis, and their poll shows, again, Trump is already beating Biden in these states by an average 6 points.
Well, that's the issue, Liz. If you look at the things that the American people care about, it's are they better off? Can they do more with their income than what they were able to do prior to Joe Biden taking office? And if you look at the things that are most critical for people, how much they have to spend on food, how much they have to spend on energy. Those things have gone up well more than the amount they have seen their wages go up. And so the American people feel like they have fallen behind. And no matter how much caffeine Joe Biden consumes prior to going and giving the State of the Union speech, it doesn't make their personal situation any better.
So what Michael just said, you know, that ABC poll, Miranda, it mirrors the latest New York Times Siena poll. Trump in that poll is leading Biden by 5 points in those swing states. You know, Nate Silver, he's a poll analyst. He says Democrats usually assume they win election through turnouts, not persuasion. But what's the turnout when grocery prices are up 25% since before he was elected?
Yeah, the Bidenomics hasn't worked. They've now had to retire that phrase because people are hurting in the hip pocket. And to have Biden and his minions run around telling them how good they're doing is just adding insult to injury. Plus, you have the problem with the border. You have millions and millions of these illegal migrants flooding the country and causing mayhem in cities like New York. It's hardly something that you can forget. And you have, victims like Laken Riley, others who have been killed by illegal migrants. That's something that remains in the news cycle, no matter how much Biden and his handmaidens in the media try to erase them. So the polls are reflecting, I think, the way that Joe Biden's presidency is going. After, more than 3 years, the verdict is in, and people have realised that they were sold a pup. Those people who voted for Joe Biden in 2020 thought they were getting something quite different. He promised to be a unifying president, and he's anything but. And you can see that with every public pronouncement he makes. He's divisive.
Yeah, and he's yelling, and it comes across as bullying. Shouted his way through the State of the Union. The president keeps campaigning, Michael, like it's the strongest economy in decades. That could turn off voters. They suffered a lower living standard, lower wages after inflation, 25 straight months of real wages going down after inflation. Inflation is coming down a bit, but it's still veering toward 18% compounded. He just put in his budget. This is a dog and pony show, Michael. He's calling for $5.5 trillion in tax hikes, getting rid of the Trump tax cuts. The government just blew hundreds of billions of dollars on government waste, fraud, and abuse and pandemic spending, green energy, no inspector general to track the billions spent on Ukraine, but they're still pushing for their IRS to go after your $600 phone app transactions on things like Venmo.
That's right, Liz. Because, see, at the end of the day, just because there has been 12 months that have gone past since there was a big price increase in oil or in food doesn't mean that the prices have gone back down. See, they keep trying to tout these inflation numbers as if the American people care about the change in prices in the last month. They look at the level of prices today compared to the level of prices when Biden took office, and they see, as you just said, prices overall are 18% higher. Grocery prices are more like 25% higher. If you look at the mortgage rates have gone from about 3 to nearly 7%. That means a $250,000 mortgage will now run you about $1,650 a month instead of $1,000 a month. That's why the American people, particularly young people, are really struggling with this economy. And so the Biden administration, the Biden campaign is losing constituencies that they normally rely upon because those are the constituents, Liz, that have been hardest hit by Bidenomics.
Miranda Devine, Michael Faulkender, thanks for joining us tonight. It's good to see you.
Great to be with you.